Welcome to the third video in our series, where we've already learned how to search for patient information and add new patient information. And now that we already have our new subject or individual in the database, now we want to learn how to screen them to see if they would be eligible to participate in any of the studies. So if we log into the application, we're going to be presented with our main user interface again. And as we learned, we're always going to start all of our processes up in the demographic info panel in the search area. So let's search for that subject that we had entered in our last video. So put in their first and last names and click the search button. And you'll see that individual appear in our subject results grid. So if we click anywhere in that row, under the basic info tab, you'll see all the basic info for that individual pop up again, where you'd be able to edit it if you would ever want to. And if you click the address tab, you'll see the addresses that we also entered. But now over on the right hand side of the screen, you see the study info tab. There's some information that appeared. And if you click the screening forms tab, you'll also see there's some information that appeared. So this is where you're going to be able to choose which screening form you want to use to see if the person is going to be eligible for your study. So since we have our patient selected in our results panel over in the demographic info area, any information we add here is always going to be tied to that individual. So right now this person has no screening forms that have been completed. So if we click the Add New Patient Screen button, then these fields are going to become active and editable. So the Study Screen Form field is going to drop down menu. That's going to show you a list of all the studies that have screening forms available to them. So this is not a complete list, but a pretty good summary of the studies that do have screening forms available. So a lot of these studies will have the same screening form used for them. For example, the stroke studies like FAST FES, Split Belt, those are going to use the stroke screening form. So the way I kept it this way, so you could see a list by study, so that you would know, well, even though you use the stroke screening form, you want to know for what study perhaps you were trying to screen them to see if they'd be eligible. So I have the healthy screen completed. So let's try to screen this person to see if they'd be a healthy control in any of our studies. So we select healthy screen from the study screen form drop down. The date screened, this is optional, but we may as well select the day that we screen this individual so we can always go back and refer to it. And then a study screen number. So I have this field, it's kind of redundant, but if you ever want to track and see, well, how many times have I screened this person for this study, then you can always enter the number here and increment it. So right now, this is the first time that we're screening this individual for the healthy study, so we'll just enter a 1 in this field. Now if we click Save, you'll see the results pop up. You'll see a row pop up in our screening forms grid. So it's going to show you the screen date, and it's going to show you the screening form that we used. So in the actual screening form, which is still a little bit rough, you can ignore this little square right there, that we have all the questions in our questionnaire. So if we scroll all the way down to the bottom, we're going to see a few different options. We can begin the screen, or there's an update and delete, which are inactive right now because we don't have any screen that we'd be able to update at the moment. So click Begin New Screen, and you'll see all the fields become active. Now if we scroll back up to the top, we can begin our screen. So we can ask, have you ever had any surgery or injuries to either one of your legs? Yes. Was it an ankle surgery or injury? No. Was it knee surgery or an injury? Yes. Now if we click yes here, then we're going to see some follow-up questions appear. Like, to which leg? Left leg. And what was the year of the surgery or injury? You'll be able to enter a date in here. And you can continue out down through the rest of the screening form. And once you're done, just simply click Save. And that information is going to be stored. So anytime you go into your screening forms area and you click that screening form, it's going to pop up with the results of your screen. Now if you made a mistake, or the person were to call back and say, oh, I now remember the answer to one of the questions, you could simply update that screen. Like if they told you that, oh yeah, I remember I had back surgery 15 years ago, then you can go back in this field, click yes, and save. So you can update that screen if you feel it's relevant, or you could go back up here, Click Add New Patient Screen if maybe it's a few years later and you want to find out if this individual would be eligible again to be a healthy control. And this is going to be the second time we've screened them. And we'll click Save. So now you see a second row appear. So we'll be able to go through our screening process again and find out if any of the answers to these questions had changed. So I can add as many screening forms as you need for as many studies as you want, and any sort of logic they may want to include. So this is still in a little bit of a work in progress, and I'm still editing the rest of the screening forms, but that's the basic functionality and how it'll work. So that's going to be the end of this tutorial, and the next one I'm going to show you how, after you've screened an individual, you can add them to a study.